Have you ever wondered what life was like for our earliest ancestors? We often picture them as scattered individuals just trying to survive. But the real story is so much more incredible. It's a story of connection, cooperation, and the birth of something truly revolutionary, the human tribe. This is the tale of how we went from being just another animal on the savannah to the dominant species on Earth, all thanks to the power of community. Let's rewind the clock way back, hundreds of thousands of years ago. Our ancestors, early hominins like Homo erectus and later Homo sapiens, were not the strongest or the fastest creatures out there. They didn't have sharp claws or massive fangs. So, what was their secret weapon? Their brains, and more importantly, their ability to use those brains to work together. Imagine the world they lived in. It was a place filled with predators and uncertainty. Finding food was a daily struggle, and a single injury could be a death sentence. For a lone individual, the odds were stacked against them. But in a group, everything changed. This is where the tribe begins. These weren't just random gatherings, they were tight-knit communities, likely formed around family and kinship, bound by mutual dependence. So what did this cooperation look like in practice? Let's start with the basics: food. Hunting a massive mammoth or a herd of bison is nearly impossible for one person. But for a coordinated group of hunters, it's a different story. Some could drive the animals towards a cliff or a trap, while others waited with spears. Everyone had a role. This wasn't just about strength, it was about strategy, communication, and trust. They had to be able to anticipate each other's moves, to signal silently, and to know that their partners had their backs. Successfully taking down a large animal meant a huge payoff. It provided a massive amount of food, more than any single person could eat. This is where another crucial element of tribal life comes in: sharing. The spoils of the hunt were brought back to the camp and distributed. This system of sharing resources wasn't just generous, it was a brilliant survival strategy. It created a social safety net. The hunter who was successful today might be injured or unlucky tomorrow. By sharing, the entire group ensured that everyone had a better chance of eating. Day in and day out, it strengthened the bonds between them and fostered a sense of collective responsibility. But tribal life wasn't just about hunting big game. It was also about gathering. In fact, a huge portion of their diet likely came from plants, nuts, berries, and roots. This was often the work of the women and children, who developed an encyclopedic knowledge of the local environment. They knew which plants were edible, which were medicinal, and which were poisonous. This was vital information, passed down from generation to generation, forming the foundation of the tribe's collective wisdom. The gatherers provided a steady, reliable source of nutrition that complemented the boom and bust cycle of hunting. It was a balanced economy with different members contributing in different, but equally important, ways. The tribe was also the ultimate defense system. A group is always more intimidating to a predator than a single individual. By staying together, they could watch over each other, especially the young and the elderly. At night, they'd gather around a fire, and fire was a game changer. It provided warmth, cooked food to make it more digestible and safer to eat, and most importantly, it kept the terrifying predators of the night at bay. The flickering light of the campfire didn't just provide physical safety, it created a social hub. This is where the culture of the tribe truly came alive. Around the fire, they would share stories. They'd recount the day's hunt, pass on myths and legends, and teach the younger generation the tribe's history and values. This was the birth of oral tradition. It's how knowledge was preserved and transmitted before the invention of writing. Language, which had been developing for ages, became richer and more complex. It wasn't just for coordinating a hunt, it was for building a shared identity, a sense of us. The tribe also became a center for innovation. Imagine one clever individual figures out a better way to nap a flint stone into a sharper tool. In isolation, that knowledge might die with them, but in a tribe, they can teach it to others. The innovation spreads and the entire group benefits. This is how technology evolved. Better spear points, more efficient scraping tools, the invention of the needle for sewing clothes from animal hides. Each new idea was shared and built upon by the collective, accelerating their ability to adapt and thrive. The tribe was a knowledge-sharing network, an ancient think tank. As these tribes grew and succeeded, they started to expand. They would follow a seasonal round, moving to different areas to take advantage of different resources. Sometimes they would encounter other tribes. These interactions could be tense, leading to conflict over territory or resources, but they could also be peaceful. Tribes might trade with each other, exchanging high-quality stone for tools, beautiful shells for decoration, or other valuable goods. These interactions were the first long-distance social networks, connecting different groups and allowing for the exchange of not just goods, but also ideas and even genes. These meetings were crucial for genetic diversity, preventing inbreeding and making the overall human population more resilient. Within the tribe, a social structure would emerge. It likely wasn't a rigid hierarchy like we see in modern societies. Instead, leadership was probably more fluid. The best hunter might lead the hunting party. The wisest elder might be consulted for their knowledge of traditions or resolving disputes. Status was earned through skill, wisdom, and the ability to contribute to the group's well-being. Everyone had a place and a purpose. This sense of belonging is a deep-seated human need, and it was forged in the crucible of these early tribes. So, the rise of the human tribe wasn't a single event. It was a gradual process built on the foundations of cooperation, sharing, and communication. It was the key adaptation that allowed our physically unremarkable ancestors to survive and eventually flourish in a dangerous world. The tribe was our first classroom, our first safety net, our first government, and our first family. It's the social software that allowed our hardware, our big brains, to reach their full potential. When you think about it, the legacy of these first tribes is all around us. The human desire for community, our ability to cooperate on massive scales, our love of stories, and our instinct to share and help one another, all of these traits have their roots in the ancient savannah. We are, in our very essence, tribal creatures. The story of early humans is not one of individual heroes, but of a collective triumph. It's the story of how we learned that we are always stronger together. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey back in time fascinating, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into our incredible human story. See you next time.